Hello everyone and welcome to I'll Be Sewing. My name is Gina. Today I'm going to be showing how to do this basket here so you can have it around the house with different things. This one is based on Valentine, so I did it all in pinks. So if you want to go on a picnic or if you want to give a present to someone, you can put some, champagne, some glasses, some placemats, because you can also pull your bows up here and use it as handles like that, and you can carry it around. But this particular basket can be used around your house, anywhere, in a kid's room with toys or clothes, or you can use it on a family room with yarn if you're a knitter and put some yarn in there and needles. You can use in your room with some different things, even towels or whatever you want. And you can also make this bag very easily in different sizes. This particular one that I have here, I made with 8-inch squares. The one that I'm going to be showing you, I'm going to be doing with 6-inch squares. But I also going to explain, if you want to make different sizes, how do you do the math to create the different sizes. It's really very simple. You can do 8-inch squares, 9-inch squares, 10-inch squares. You can do, of course, the bigger is the square, the bigger will be the basket. The smaller the square, the smaller is the basket. But it's not a complicated project. It's very simple, and I hope you like it. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a list of the materials that we're going to be needing to make this project. But we're going to be making with 6-inch squares instead of 8-inch squares. So because my space here is a little bit small, so if I make a little bit smaller, you can see a little bit better. But the idea is the same, so there is no difference to make the 6-inch or the 8-inch. You just, if you're using 6-inch squares or 8-inch squares, it's the size that's going to be changing, okay? So the materials that I'm using is from Primavera. It's called Primavera. That's the line. It's called Primavera by Figu Fabrics. And I'm going to be using, this one is in the pinks, and I'm going to be using in teals. So I'm going to put this here to the side, and I have the fabric here in teals. So let me give you the list that I need. So for the outside of my bag, I'm going to need 8 squares. So, and the size of the squares that I'm using here is 6 by 6, and I'm going to need 8. So I have mine here. Then I'm going to need, for my interior of the bag, my lining, you could use squares again, another 8 squares, or you can use yardage. In my case, I'm going to use yardage because I want my inside to be all one color. Okay, so, and for my inside, I picked this one here, and I have 2 pieces of 6 inches by 11.5, and 1 square that I have here that would be 11.5 by 11.5. Then I have our form from Basel, that's a fusible foam, and I have 2 pieces of 6 inches by 11.5 and 1 square of 11.5 by 11.5. And this again is our form. It's called our form, and it's by Basel, and it's an interfacing. It's a foam interfacing that will give body to the back. And then for my ties, I have 2 pieces here, and this is 3 inches wide that I have here, like this, and I did by 20 inches long. Okay, so if you were doing this one here with 8-inch squares, okay, you would be needing 8-inch squares, and then for your inside pieces you would need 15.5 and 15.5 square for the 8 inches. And for the other 2 pieces, you would need 8 inches by 15.5. So you always lose about a ½ an inch, because when you join the squares, they end up a little bit smaller. You lose seam allowance. Okay? So we're going to put this to the side. And if you want to do, like, for example, 10 inches, if you were doing one with 10 inches, you would need 8 squares of 10 inches. And then your square would be 19.5 by 19.5, and your 2 pieces would be 10 inches by 19.5. Okay, so you always lose that 1/2 an inch of the length, and on the square you use all the way around, you lose 1/2 an inch because we're using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to join our squares. Okay, so let's start with our project now. So I'm gonna put my R-form to the side here, and I'm gonna start with my squares. So my middle, my bottom of the bag, I'm gonna use this one here. So this one here, that there, and this one here. Oh, like that. So we're gonna go ahead and sew this here to here. So that there, this one to here. So from there to there. After that's sewed like that, you're gonna match the seam here, put this on top here, and sew across to make one square. Okay, and then the other ones here, as you see, you're gonna go ahead and put it right sides together, sew it there, and the other one here, again right sides together and sew it there. I'm gonna go ahead and sew these, and I'll be right back. So I'm back from the sewing machine. So I sew those into 4 and this into 2s, and you see this is why we had the inside as a square, because it's to match that. That's why it's smaller, because when you join here you lose 1/2 an inch, 1/4 from this side, 1/4 from this side, 1/2 an inch. That's why your square is gonna always end up 1/2 an inch smaller all the way around, and this one here is gonna end up, the lengthwise is gonna end up smaller 1/2 an inch. Okay, so we have that. So after you've done this part here, you're gonna get your fusible foam, and you're gonna go ahead and put this on top, and you're gonna press it, you're gonna iron it on. You know, you're gonna iron it on the sticky side, put that there, iron it on, and iron it on. And then you're gonna go ahead and quilt it. After it's ironed on, you're gonna quilt it. And you can do whatever you want, a grid, you can go free motion, you can go around the flowers if you want, you can just do a couple lines, it's up to you. And then if you don't want to quilt it, you don't have to either, but I think it looks a lot nicer if you see when it's quilted. It gives you a little bit more detail. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and quilt mine, and I'll be right back. So I'm back. As you see, I quilt my pieces. If you see, I did a grid on mine. Yeah, I'm showing the back so you can see a little bit better. But I think you can see it very well. That's quilted, and that one also, it's quilted like that. And this one I did a little bit bigger. This year I did 1 inch grid, and this one I did 1/4 of an inch grid. Okay, but again, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. You know, it's just an option. Okay, so now we're gonna start putting our bag together. It's quite easy and simple. So here, because it's 2 squares, we already know what the middle is. So we're gonna go ahead here, and you see where the corner is here. You're gonna go ahead and put that middle there with the tip there. And I want you to go to the sewing machine and do just a stay stitch right at the edge there, on that corner there. Then you're gonna turn this to this corner. You're gonna put right sides together again. And because I want my fabrics to be opposites, I'm gonna make sure that now this one I had this one to this side, this one I'm gonna do this one to this side. So I'm gonna do the same thing. So where my join here is, I'm gonna get to the tip here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just do a little stitch there to hold it in place. It just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, if you don't want to do that way, you can obviously go ahead and start pinning it this direction, but I'm gonna go do that, and you're gonna see how much easier it is after that has a couple little stitches there in place. Okay, so just like that, so opposite corners. Okay, I'll be right back. So I'm back to the iron, and you see I only did a couple stitches there to pin that there and pin that there like that. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go this direction here. We're gonna put our fabric that way, and you can use clips to help you out. We also have this little wrist thing to hold your clips on. This is very useful, because when you're doing like that, then you can just get the clips from there. So you're gonna go ahead and pin it that direction like that, and because it's already so there, that little edge, see, it turns, it's a little easier to fold this way now. You go like that and like this, like that. So it's gonna end up like this, and the same here. We're gonna do the same thing. Gonna go this direction. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna go like this, and you're gonna take this to the iron and sew there and there. You're gonna do the same thing here. You're gonna go here, so there, there, and there. After you've done that, you're gonna go here and you're gonna go ahead and sew this direction like this. So this part here is gonna go back to this tip here. And this other side here, it's gonna come this way here. We're gonna do the same thing to this side. So this one is gonna come this way. And this side here is gonna come this way. Okay, and you end up with something like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew that, and I'll be right back. So I'm back from the sewing machine. I sew all my pieces here around. So I'm gonna turn it to the right side so you can see what it looks like. And you see with the 6-inch squares, it's a lot smaller, you know, versus the 8-inch square. So I'm just gonna turn, make sure we cut everything. Everything is good. If it has any little threads, we can trim. Let's have a look. There you go. That's what it's looking like. It's going like that, you know. And now we're gonna do the same thing to our lining. So I'm gonna grab my lining here, and I have my square here that's 11.5 by 11.5, or if you did squares and by the time you sew them you would end up with 4 squares here, and they would also be 11.5 because you would have lost 1/2 inch seam allowance when you join the squares together. Okay, so I have this piece here. Now I have the 2 pieces that's supposed to be equal to 2 squares. So mine here is 6 inches by 11.5. So I have my 2 pieces, and I'm gonna do the same thing that I did before. I'm gonna find the middle here, since this is just fabric. I'm just gonna put a little crease here, or you can mark it with a pen. And you're gonna go ahead and put it in one of these tips, just like that. And you're gonna go ahead and do a little seam there. Do the same thing here, just like we did before to the outside fabric. So I have that mark there, and I'm gonna go in the opposite corner, and I'm also gonna put very close to the edge there, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a little seam there, Let me see, a little seam there. And then after I do that, I'm gonna bring this to here, sew this part here, bring that to there, sew that part there, do the same thing here, bring this part here, sew that seam, and sew that seam. After that's done, I'm gonna show you the next step. I'm back from the sewing machine, and I sew those two sides, there and there, there and there. So now this part, it's gonna go, so it's like this and like this. So this part now, it's gonna come this way, and you're gonna sew that there. I'm gonna put just a couple clips. This side here is gonna come to this side here. Okay. Then this one here, that was this side, is gonna go to here. And then this side here, it's gonna go to here. So because this is the lining, one of these sides here that we're gonna sew, we're only gonna sew a couple stitches here and a couple stitches here, and leave an opening in one of these seams so when we put our lining into our bag, we have a way to turning it inside out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew this, and also I'm gonna be taking my two straps, my side bows, and what I have here, I think I told you, was 20 inches by 3 inches wide. The one that I did here on this basket, I did 4 inches by 20, about 22 inches to 24 inches length, a little longer because it's a bigger basket. So, and this one here, like I said, I'm just gonna, what you're gonna do is just gonna fold it in half, fold this way and fold this way again, and fold that, and you're gonna go ahead and sew this. But before you do, we want these edges to be finished, right? So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go like this. You're gonna fold this like this, the edge. You're gonna sew. Okay, after you sew this, you're gonna turn it back this direction like this to the folds that you already had, and sew it. Okay, so you're gonna do that to both straps that you have here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this to the sewing machine, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back from the sewing machine. So I sew it here, and I left an opening here to turn the bag inside out. If you need a little bit more space, you can leave a bigger opening. And then I also sew my bow ties. They're here. So we're going to put that to the side. Now we're going to put the bag together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this on the right side like that. And I'm going to get the lining here, and I'm going to feed my bag inside the lining. Okay, so fit in here. So the best way of sewing this, you don't want to sew it like this because it's difficult to turn. So you want to put this like this in a sewing machine, like this, and you're going to sew from the inside. And then when you get here, you're going to turn, go this way, and you're going to keep going around and join all the pieces around. But sew from the inside. That's why I left my lining on the inside, because I want to sew on the foam side because there's less stretching. So if you're sewing on the fabric side, like this would be difficult to put this in. Like this would be a little bit more difficult. But if you sew from the inside, you can do it just fine. It's not that complicated. You're going to keep turning it this way, and you're going to keep turning, and sew all the way around. You can reinforce here on the tips a little bit here. And after you've done that, to sew this all the way around, we have an opening here to turn it inside out. But before we turn it inside out, we're gonna go here and kind of do a little slit here on this point here, so it can open a little nicer. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and sew this, and I'll be right back and show you how, you know, when it's turned to the right side already. Okay, because there's no secret. You sew around and then you trim a little bit here and a little bit there, and you turn it to the right side. So I'm gonna go do that, and I'll be right back. So I'm back from the sewing machine. I sew my lining, and now I'm gonna turn it inside out. So I left a very small hole, so it's a little bit more difficult when it's small. So now you're going to take this to the sewing machine, or you can sew this little hole here by hand. It's up to you how you want to do it. It's either by the sewing machine or by hand. So I'm just going to straighten up in here, because I'm going to do that after. So, and as you see, I want to see a little bit of the lining on the outside, so I'm just going to fold this neatly like this. Okay. I'm going to press it. I'm going to take it to the iron and press it. Okay. Press it really well, especially here, this part here where this part here joins. So you're going to go ahead and press it well. And then again, you're going to do a top stitch around here, you know, to leave that little peekaboo of fabric from the inside on the outside. But because I don't want to sew this like this, because it's more difficult, I'm going to turn this way to the wrong side. Okay. Gonna leave everything to the wrong side. Gonna straighten everything up. See, this is my opening that I have to close. Still having that little peekaboo of fabric folded out like that. I'm gonna now take to the machine and sew it like this, because like this it's a lot easier to turn. And I'm gonna do like a stitch in a ditch, so right close to this part here, you know, so not on top of my teal. I'm right on the edge here, so I don't even see the seam. And I would use a thread that would match this fabric so you don't see it as much. And just make sure you have this little fold pretty much even all the way around. Okay, like that. And you're going to go ahead and sew it all the way around. Okay, after you've done that, I'm just going to put it to the right side just to show you your next step. Okay, you're going to get your ties. You're going to find the middle of the tie right there. You're going to go here on this tip here, and you're going to sew here like this. Okay, I'm just going to put a clip for now, because I'm going to sew it there. I'm going to grab the other tie again, find the middle, where my middle is. I'm going to go ahead here and put that there. Okay, so now I can bring these to the side like this and tie my bow. And bring to the side and tie my bow. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this, all of this in place, and I'll be right back. So I'm back from the sewing machine. I sew my edge here, and I sew my bows. As you see, this is a smaller size here because it was a 6-inch squares. The size, the finished size of this one here is about 7 by 15 by 8, so around that size. And the one here that I have here, that's with the 8-inch squares, the finished size is around 18 by 10 by 9, around there. So you see there's a huge difference in size, so I can literally just put this one inside here if I really wanted to, and it would fit. So if you did in different sizes, you can actually put them inside of each other, even give it as a gift to someone. It would be a really cute gift, as you see, if you make them as a set of the same color. As you see on this one, I also put a little handmade tag on it, and so it just adds a little bit more detail. We will be putting a link on the descriptions of all the fabrics that we use here, also the foam, the handmade, and whatever we use here. The thread that I use here normally for quilting, I like using the Metler, and I like using the embroidery one, the polyester. We also have some available on the website. And this is it. I hope you like this project. If you do, give us a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do. And you can also click on that little bell, so when we do a new video, you'll be notified that we have a new video up. You can, if you like small projects like this, you can also check the website sewersclub.com, and they do a subscription box that we ship normally every month with the small projects and with all the materials that you need to complete that project. Well, we'll see you next time. Happy sewing, everyone.